Birth of a superpower, the formation of the Soviet Union. The year is 1922. From the ashes of the Russian Empire, a new power emerges. The Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, or USSR, is born. This vast nation stretches across Europe and Asia. It is a land of many cultures and languages, brought together under communism. The Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin, are victorious. They have fought a bloody civil war. Now, they face the task of building a new society. Their ideology promises equality and prosperity. The early years are marked by radical change. Lenin implements war communism. The state takes control of industry and agriculture. This policy leads to economic chaos. In 1921, Lenin introduces the new economic policy. It allows for limited private enterprise. This helps revive the economy. The Soviet Union faces many challenges. It is a nation forged in revolution. Under Lenin's leadership, it becomes a major power. The seeds of a superpower are sown. The Shadow of the Bear, Stalin's Rise and Reign of Terror. In 1924, Lenin, the architect of the Soviet Union, dies. A power struggle erupts within the Communist Party. Joseph Stalin, a cunning and ruthless figure, emerges as the new leader. His rival, Leon Trotsky, advocates for global revolution. Stalin, however, focuses on socialism in one country. Stalin consolidates his power through a campaign of terror and repression. He eliminates his opponents. Millions of people are sent to labor camps known as gulags. Stalin's paranoia knows no bounds. He launches the Great Purge in the 1930s. Anyone perceived as a threat, real or imagined, is eliminated. Stalin's economic policies are equally brutal. He implements a system of forced collectivization in agriculture. Private land ownership is abolished. Peasants are forced onto collective farms. This policy leads to widespread famine. Resistance is met with violence. Despite the human cost, Stalin's industrialization drive transforms the Soviet Union into a major industrial power. He implements a series of 5-year plans. These plans prioritize heavy industry and military production. The Soviet Union undergoes rapid industrialization, but at a terrible human cost. The hammer and sickle against the world. The Soviet Union in World War II. The world watches in horror as Nazi Germany, under Adolf Hitler, unleashes its war machine. In 1939, the unthinkable happens. Germany and the Soviet Union sign a non-aggression pact. The Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact includes a secret protocol to divide Eastern Europe. The uneasy alliance is short-lived. In 1941, Hitler breaks the pact and invades the Soviet Union. Operation Barbarossa, the largest military invasion in history, begins. The German army, confident of a swift victory, is met with fierce resistance. The Soviet people are determined to defend their homeland. The war on the Eastern Front becomes a brutal struggle. The Red Army suffers staggering losses, yet they fight on with unwavering determination. The Battle of Stalingrad becomes a turning point in the war. The Soviet victory marks the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. The Soviet Union emerges from World War II as a victorious but devastated nation. Millions have perished. Cities lie in ruins. The war leaves an indelible scar on the Soviet psyche. The Soviet Union has played a pivotal role in defeating Nazi Germany. It has earned its place as a global superpower. Section 4. From Sputnik to Stagnation. The Cold War and the Soviet Paradox. The ashes of World War II give rise to a new global conflict, the Cold War. It is a clash of ideologies. The United States and the Soviet Union become locked in a struggle for global dominance. Both sides possess nuclear weapons. The threat of nuclear annihilation hangs over the world. The Cold War is a multifaceted conflict. It is waged through propaganda, espionage, and proxy wars. The Soviet Union establishes satellite states in Eastern Europe. The Iron Curtain descends, dividing Europe. The United States promotes democracy and capitalism. The Soviet Union champions communism and a socialist utopia. The space race becomes a key arena of competition. In 1957, the Soviet Union launches Sputnik, the first artificial satellite to orbit Earth. The world is stunned. The launch of Sputnik ignites the space race. The Soviet Union achieves another milestone in 1961 when Yuri Gagarin becomes the first human in space. Despite its technological prowess, the Soviet economy begins to stagnate. The centrally planned system proves inefficient. Consumer goods are scarce. The Soviet people experience shortages of basic necessities. Dissent grows. The Soviet Union, once a beacon of hope for many, seems to have lost its way. Section 5. A Wind of Change. Gorbachev, Perestroika, and Glasnost. In 1985, Mikhail Gorbachev becomes the General Secretary of the Communist Party. He is a reformer, determined to revitalize the Soviet Union. Gorbachev introduces two key policies, Perestroika and Glasnost. Perestroika means restructuring. It aims to reform the Soviet economy. Glasnost means openness. It promotes greater freedom of speech and transparency. Gorbachev's reforms, however, unleash forces he cannot control. The Soviet people, long silenced, embrace Glasnost. They demand greater freedom and democracy. Nationalities within the Soviet Union assert their identities. The once monolithic Soviet Empire begins to crumble. On the international stage, Gorbachev seeks to end the Cold War. He engages in arms control talks with US President Ronald Reagan. The two leaders develop a rapport. The world watches in amazement as the Cold War begins to thaw. Gorbachev's reforms prove to be too little, too late. The Soviet Union, weakened by internal divisions and economic stagnation, is on the brink of collapse. The world holds its breath. The fate of a superpower hangs in the balance. Section 6. The Fall of the Hammer and Sickle. The Collapse of the Soviet Union. The year 1991 marks the end of an era. The Soviet Union, once a formidable superpower, collapses. It is a momentous event, signaling the end of the Cold War and reshaping the geopolitical landscape. The fall of the Soviet Union is swift and dramatic. In August 1991, hardline communists attempt a coup against Gorbachev. The coup fails, but it weakens Gorbachev's grip on power. One by one, the Soviet republics declare their independence. On December 25, 1991, the Soviet flag is lowered for the last time over the Kremlin. The collapse of the Soviet Union has profound consequences. It leads to the creation of 15 independent states. Russia emerges as the largest and most powerful of these states. The world grapples with the implications of a post-Soviet world. The collapse of the Soviet Union marks the triumph of democracy over communism. It is a victory for freedom and self-determination. The world breathes a collective sigh of relief as the threat of nuclear annihilation recedes. Section 7. Echoes of an Empire. The Legacy of the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union is no more, but its legacy continues to shape the world we live in. The events of 1991 have had a profound impact on global politics, economics, and culture. The collapse of the Soviet Union marks the end of the Cold War. It ushers in a new era of globalization. The United States emerges as the sole superpower, but its dominance is challenged by rising powers such as China. The Soviet Union's legacy is complex and multifaceted. It is a tale of both triumph and tragedy, of hope and despair. The Soviet Union made significant contributions to science, technology, and culture. It also left behind a legacy of repression, violence, and human suffering. The Soviet Union's influence can still be felt today. Its collapse continues to shape the geopolitical landscape. Its legacy serves as a reminder of the importance of freedom, democracy, and human rights. The Soviet Union may be gone, but its story continues to resonate.